if you had some trouble with the competitor challenge, or hey, if you've had trouble coding anything at all ever, I'm going to teach you about the single greatest coding tool ever. Every day I get emails from strangers asking me to help fix their code because they don't know why it doesn't work. I feel for these people because I know it can be so difficult to try to think like a computer and understand how Apex is interpreting your code versus how you're interpreting it in your mind. Of course, Apex is a computer. It never makes any mistakes. So the challenge is always on our side, trying to bridge that gap between what we think our code is doing versus what it's actually doing. And luckily, we have a tool that bridges this gap 100%. And I tell everyone, start using this tool because it's going to tell you how to fix your code. This tool is called system.debug, and it's the single greatest coding tool ever. And by the way, now that I'm teaching you this tool, if you email me asking for code help, I better see you using system.debug. System.debug is a tool specifically meant to help you debug code that doesn't work. All system.debug does is log whatever you want it to log into the debug log. This is crazy helpful because you might be reading your code and assuming you have a variable that's equal to 5, for example, but when you log the value of that variable into the debug log, you might actually find the value of it is 10 instead. Maybe you don't know how many times your loop has looped. You could use system.debug to log something each time your loop iteration has finished. Or maybe you don't know if your code is ever reaching inside a certain if statement. You could use system.debug inside the if statement and see if it ever gets logged. There are so many creative ways you can use system.debug to help you solve your code. Let me give you an example to help you visualize this. Here's a basic example of how system.debug works. On the left, we have some code that needs debugging. On the right, we have the output of our system.debug log. Let's start off by creating a new list of strings. Say in our code, we're not sure if our list of strings has any values inside it. We could use system.debug to find out. This is how you use system.debug. It's actually just dot notation for a global method. You literally type system.debug, and inside its parentheses, you type what you want it to output. In this case, we have a short, hard-coded string to describe what we're debugging. Then, we use dot notation on our list to output whether or not it's empty. When this line of code is run, the debug log gets updated and we can see what the output looks like on the right. Excellent. Now let's say we added a few more values to our list, and at some point, we're unsure how many values we've added total. Again, we can use system.debug to log the size of our list. We can put anything we want inside the system.debug parentheses, but this should be sufficient in telling us what we need to know. On the right-hand side, our debug log updates and lets us know we have exactly 4 values in our list. Later on in our code, I may be curious what values are in our list. Perhaps I had a ton of logic that added or removed list values, and now I'm unsure what remains. Again, system.debug to the rescue. I can loop through our list and log every value inside it. On the right-hand side, you see exactly what the output is. It's very common to see developers using system.debug like this. There's no shame in seeing system.debug used often in a trigger, even every few lines. You can always remove it later once your code works, or you can keep it to help in future debugging. My recommendation, use it as often as you need to write working code. We'll be sure to use system.debug in our next coding demo.